You're muted. You're muted.
Normally doesn't mute me off of that one, but still. Greetings and salutations, Focus Up family. Welcome to the April 11, 2026 installment of the Focus Up Show. We thank you for tuning in with us live every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on YouTube and various other platforms, catching up with us on replay. And we ask you click that like, that subscribe, that bell, and share to support and maintain the weekly Focus Up fix. I am Mr. Nice Guy. Nice as in the word saint spelled backwards. And today we rocking the skeleton crew. It's me, Student X, star of Mutant Politics and Objective Deconstruction. And then we got the boss man, Mr. Floyd X, star of course, The Focus Up Show. And what is it? Street Focus on Sundays at 6 p.m. That's what's up. You know, the brothers Johnson. So we don't have Brother Walk today. He's taking care of some strong big moves that I'm saluting him for, not putting his information out there. But, you know, star Sex Talk with Walk Thursday at 9 p.m. and co-star Street Focus. Infamous El Poo, taking care of business. Salute to that brother star of Spin That Back, often Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. I don't think there's anything coming on after today, so we might extend Focus Up a little bit longer. No Afro Agnostic, he's taking care of some business. So, you know, star those Afro Agnostic videos and co-star Objective Deconstruction. No First Lady J, although she did pop in the meeting and gave us some things to talk about. So, you know, so shout out to First Lady J. No AB, you know, hopefully you're still getting recuperating and getting better, and you know, bring you back on the show as well. So a salute to the Focus Up fam out there. So let's get it started. What's going on with you, sir, Mr. Student X?
Oh, brother, if you ain't lying, you ain't trying. That's the Trump admin's mantra. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I remember people were saying that before, but you know, they were exaggerating then, but it is no exaggerating today. You know, every word damn near that come out that man's mouth is a lie. But I want to throw a shout out to Candace Owens, you know, who said the elites suddenly perceive a threat when the slave begins to command the crowd. Every single time without fail. Shout out to Candace Owens. Protect Candace.
Damn.
Man, I tried to watch that video. I got 3 minutes and 39 seconds in. It was like, nope. She started talking about Charlie Kirk and all this. I was just like, nope.
Candace Owens, but I don't know if I'm ready to shout her out yet. But I know she can switch up just like that. Go right back to F niggas. She'll be like, F y'all niggas. I'm back with Trump. F y'all niggas. That's what Candace gonna do. F y'all niggas.
Yeah, so what's going on with you, sir? Mr. Floyd X?
Man, I'm chilling, you know, here. My Wi-Fi went out. We got inclement weather going on right now. They talk about some big ball hailstorms might storm down today, so I'm going to have to put my car in the garage because I don't want to tear my shit up. But my Wi-Fi's down too, so, you know, I'm here. I'm good.
Your brother's in the cuts now, you know what I mean? He's in the city, you know, he's in the cuts.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what's up. All right, so let's get to the gift. First thing up, you know, and you know, I love that we're about to talk about this. And my brother Student X is like, we sure we talking about this? Because you know, I'm gonna have some positive things to say. We don't sugarcoat anything. We will present your legacy in its totality, the good and the bad. So that having said, rest in peace, because you know, I don't kick dirt on a dead person. You know, that's just the natural thing that I don't change my perspective of their life or what they are, but you know what I'm saying? To me, once they're dead, I'm no longer talking about them. I'm just talking about what they did. And brother Afrika Bambaataa, he did a whole bunch of positive things for hip hop. Not to mention is he's one of those sort of like founding DJs, you know, with him and Grandmaster Flash and Kool Herc, you know what I'm saying? These are the people that really laid the foundation for the culture. Not to mention the Zulu Nation was an extremely powerful, impactful, you know, political organization, a movement. I mean, they really did things. They really squashed beef. They really fed people. They really educated people. They did a lot of great positive things. And you know what? That dude he seemed to have done some terrible things because some dudes came out about, you know, him basically what he was doing with little boys. So again, that's why I tell you, people have multiple dimensions to themselves, and don't ever be fooled by the greatness that you see to be blinded to the darkness that you don't. So again, I'm a salute to his legacy. I'm all about this hip hop, and he was a big contributor to that. You know what I'm saying? And his music legacy is just solid. It can't be taken away. But his human legacy is absolutely scarred. So go ahead. I was about to say Student X, but you look like you about to say something, Floyd X. Go ahead. You say something before we pass it to Student X.
Hey, I just want to get it out. You know, these probably gonna be the last time we can say the jokes. They call them Afrika Bambaataa. They called them looking for the perfect booty. You know, it was a negative. I'm just gonna get these jokes out the way real quick. And we put R.I.P. Afrika Bambaataa. You can make that R.I.P. whatever you want it to be. If you want it to be pissed, you could be pissed. If you want it to be peace, it could be peace. I'm just gonna put it out there like that. But I appreciate the what he contributed to hip hop. Much respect. But what you do with Hassan Campbell and B Stinger and all the other boys, the little one that stabbed, the little Mexican boy that stabbed you, you know, you're gonna have to deal with that if you believe in your maker. But I'm gonna leave it right there.
All right, Student X, the floor is yours, brother.
Yeah, you know, I mean, for those that they want to, you know, remember him, you know, in hip hop, that's one thing, man. But you know, this dude, as far as I know, he to his grave constantly denied all the allegations, calling them baseless. You know, and attempt just to damage his legacy. And you know, call it what you will, but when a bunch of dudes come forward saying that they were sexually abused, you know what I mean? You know, that, you know, I tell you what, you know, I believe it, you know, not just based on them being dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But,
so when dudes do it, you believe it, but when females do it.
Hey, I'm putting it straight up, bro, because a dude is not trying to talk about that shit. You know, at all. You know what I mean? Straight up, you know what I mean? You know, and especially when there's another dude, is what I'm talking about. You know, and so, but it's not, but I'm not saying it's not just based on that, you know what I mean? But, you know, to me, I gotta add a little something to it, you know what I mean? Just based on, I do not trying to talk about it, you know what I mean? You know, and he had multiple young men, you know, come forward, you know, and then you had some that retaliated, you know what I mean? So, you know, this right here is, you know, hey, well, you know, whatever, you know, and the fact that his crew, the rest of Zulu Nation, first of all, I hate the fact they use, you know, some names that have, you know, such legacy and such history and such reverence, you know, to ultimately shield a dirty religion because the rest of the crew didn't say nothing either. You know what I mean? You know, the people knew this shit was going on, but didn't say anything. You know what I mean? As far as you know, I'm concerned, you know what I mean? You know, they X'd out.
Just like that.
We're gonna be saving a lot of this show for future use. Afro-agnostics is somewhere rolling over in this patriarchal grave.
Hey.
But so shout out to brother JC, top of the AM to you. Big Cuz, what's going on with you, sir? You know, that's not the only person that we lost as far as a founding member, a founding parent of hip hop. You know, we lost Blondie from the Sequence, and you know, Brick Walls is on record saying that song that's what made him fall in love with hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So you know, you're talking about Blondie, you're talking about Angie B, was Angie Stone, and hold on, let me pull up the other sister's name. I apologize that I forgot it, but it is the Pearl, Cheryl the Pearl. So Cheryl the Pearl Cook. You know, and the Sequence that was co-founded in 1979 on Sugar Hill Records. You know, Sugar Hill, I mean, you know, there was a lot of dirty stuff that went down, like business-wise, but as far as music-wise, you know, they just had a major foothold on early hip-hop. I mean, they are sort of like a Motown in Stax after a fashion. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, but salute to her legacy. She was 66 years old. Way too young. But damn. Shout out to Blondie. And that song, I'ma funk you right on up. That's a joint. So in fact, when Dre's got that song, that ring, ding dong, ding 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 dong, that's just basically one of their little chants that they had in that song. So you know, a lot of the stuff has just been recycled all over and over, and that's what I respect about, you know, of just basically recreating and revisiting, you know, the past. So, you know, hip hop has always been very enlightened in that regard. So, you know, rest in peace to that sister. So now, and then up next, what do we have? Mr. Floyd X, Offset.
Offset.
So, luckily, this is not another rest in peace. You know, that brother, you know, yo, man, he's been going through some things. But yeah, that brother got shot. He's okay. People have been checking on him. Even Cardi B checked on him. So, you know, to me, that feels great to hear because they got 3 children. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to be together. I just hate for y'all to be at war. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, I hope that brother stays safe, you know, stays focused, whatever, you know what I'm saying? I don't know the particulars of it. You know, there's speculation of who did it. You gonna speak on it, Mr. FedEx?
Hey, Offset out here taking butt shots.
Oh my goodness.
Dude shot him in the butt. Over gambling. Apparently it looked like it was for gambling. They was at the casino in Miami, the Hard Rock in Miami, gambling and something about some money, and a rapper called Little TJ. People say he's a good rapper. I never heard of him a day in my life. His name is Little TJ. And they had an incident, and then one of his friends allegedly shot Offset when he was walking off. And then the dude got out of jail the next day. Little TJ said that Offset snitched on him. So he was trying to make a whole incident out of that. He walked away. He said when the police came, that Offset was like, that MF shot me. He shot me. And so they call that snitching now. So, you know, you can't tell on somebody. If somebody shoots you, you can't tell on them because you're snitching, apparently. So, thankfully, Offset,
you promoting street code.
Yeah, that's street code. He's civilian now. If you're doing something legal and somebody does something to you, I mean, you know, yeah. I don't know. Yes, but yeah.
So thankfully he's recovering, and you know, hopefully he recovered from this and no issues. You know, we lost Takeoff a few years ago, and we don't want to lose another Migos, but you know,
connected to another gambling situation. Y'all need to stay the hell away from gambling. You know what I'm saying? That's what's up.
It's crazy, man. But it's all good. I'm glad he's still here.
So what we got up next after that?
Okay. We'll move to Kanye West. It's not called the Bully Tour. I had to it's called the Ye. Damn, I forgot the name of it. It's called the Ye.
Well, it's basic, but he's supporting Bully. I mean, he's basically promoting his Bully album. So that's why I called it that. There were like multiple, you know, sort of like tours that were sort of like connected. Like, for example, what he did with at the Wi-Fi at the SoFi. At the SoFi, 2 shows. He pulled in $33 million from 2 shows.
Nice. Hey man, he's doing the shit. And then what's the name? He was supposed to do a tour in England or the UK, and they banned him. They banned him. Like he's amongst some great people though. You know, they banned the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was banned from the UK, and now they banned Kanye West. From what I understand, Michael Savage, somebody who I used to listen to, I don't listen to him now, but you know, because he be on that MAGA stuff. But they banned him also from the UK. So you know, the UK don't play. If they don't like what you're saying, they gonna ban your ass.
And if you're in the Epstein files, they'll sit your ass down too. But go ahead, student. Next, you about to say.
Yeah. I'm about to say, you know, it's fair to make sure people know that the controversy is, you know, so-called anti-Semitic, you know, statements, so-called and situations, you know, that Kanye is involved in, you know, and so, you know, it is what it is. But right now,
you said, wait, to be clear, you said so-called. I want to just give you an example.
I'm saying so-called. Not everyone agrees that, you know, that they've been anti-Semitic. You know, some do, some don't. So, you
don't agree with the Hitler stuff?
I mean, I don't even know all the situations. You know what I mean? So I can't speak on it at all. You know,
okay, there we go.
I know I like his music. You know, and that's about it.
His music is legendary. Those first few albums are some of the greatest hip hop albums of all time. Again, to me, he's always gonna get the Afrika Bambaataa treatment from me. His legacy, his music legacy is untouchable. You know, the stuff that he does after that, personality, you know, that's a whole nother issue. But at the end of the day, I know that brother's dealing with some issues, and I respected the hell out of his apology. They say that it was just, public relations as he's getting ready to tour. But at the end of the day, I try to take people on face value. I thought it was a beautiful apology.
So, yeah, I do remember something about an apology a while back we had talked about, and I remember being like, okay, man, it seems sincere.
Yeah. That's so I root for Kanye. I root for his wellness, his health. So that's what's up. So
hey,
go ahead.
My bad, I had to step out. But did y'all talk about Cameron said he won't interview Kanye West because Kanye wants to be gay when it's convenient?
Oh, is that why because he said something about cousins, and I don't remember what the cousin song was about. Oh,
Kanye had a song where he said he gave his cousin oral sex.
Ouch.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And what's his name? Cameron took offense to that, thinking that he gonna come out with it because it's convenient to be gay today. So that's what he said. He would not interview him, but it is what it is. I just wanted to put that out there because I heard somebody. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying so. What you're saying is that he's saying that he didn't want to interview him because he felt like he was exploiting that. It wasn't that he wouldn't interview him because he was gay.
No, exactly the way you said.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I understand it a whole lot better. I got a lot of respect for Cam. So that's what's up.
Because the dude asked him to talk with Fleet. The dude asked him, "Who are the people that you want to interview us? Your top 5 desire to interview?" And somehow Kanye West came up. He said, "No, I ain't doing that because And it was cool at one point. Him and Kanye was cool, but it is what it is.
That's what's up. Well, he burnt a few bridges, so I can understand that. What do we have up next, Mr. Student X? Sorry, not Mr. Student X, Mr. Floyd X. Got a bunch of X's up in here. So Jake Paul. Okay, so now again, this is like a follow-up to us talking about the whole Drewski situation. Drewski did that basically skit. I thought he was basically just clowning on conservative, like Republican type woman, as opposed to really going after Erica Kirk. But there are so many parallels that it made it seem that that's what he was really sort of like mocking. But in a humor way. Jake Paul basically says, "I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was funny. You know what I'm saying? It's just a joke. It's not no big political nothing about this." And he's like, we need to just let a joke be a joke. And he's like, on that note, I'm looking for some great makeup artists to do my retort. I got something for Drewski. So we'll see how that plays out. Now again, to me, blackface in what Drewski did, those are completely two different things. I understand that it's taboo for white people to put on makeup, especially, if you put on shoe polish, you got to understand the racist dynamics about that. But, when you're doing stuff like, let's say, for example, like Robert Downey Jr. in Thunder Jr. in Tropic Thunder. I'm just telling you, that's a great movie, and that was a great role. There were some politics and situations about that, but I'm just telling you that was hilarious. You know what I'm saying? But there's a way to go about those type of things. But again, all this is distinguished from blackface. When you find yourself putting on black polish and white lips, know that you've crossed the line, and it's a completely different situation. So, what you feel about that, Mr. Student X, about potentially Jake Paul dressing up looking like Drewski? I don't know if you've seen the pictures of it. So he's not wearing blackface, he's not wearing shoe polish, but he's definitely darker colored. So what do you got to say about that, brother?
Yeah, man. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me, honestly. I'm not offended by it. That's what you're asking. And it's just clicks and hits, and what I mean.
Amen. Whatever. Amen. Floyd X, that's your position as well?
No, I looked at a few comedians, they take on it, and Carlos Miller said it best. He said, "You're gonna do it, do it. If you want to do it, do it. Just be prepared for the repercussions. But if you want to do it, do it." It's that simple. Sometimes they got these desires that they want to do, people that they want to do, and they just looking for the opportunity. Do it. And just be willing to deal with it, and you might get canceled or get attacked just like Chili got attacked, and stand on it. Be ready to stand on it. That's how I look at it. Like, it is what it is. You say
I think the sisters will oppose this for sure, right? Because I hear about cultural appropriation, I think it's called, all the time, where you know, they get mad if a white girl wear braids or something in their hair or something like that. You know what I mean? So if someone's gonna dress up like a whole black person, I imagine your hair's gotta be hot. You know what I mean? It really triggered.
It's a different. It's a difference when that's just like your whole vibe. Like you're walking around. It's one thing to put on a mask for a skit. It's a whole nother thing to basically change up how you walk around every day and how you act. If you start
there's
talking,
levels to it. There's levels.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's just like, you know, when you have that, we've grown around not too many white people, but when you have like white people that grow up all around black people, you know, they'll tend to inherit some of these black tendencies. So, you know, a lot of stuff that they do, you see it as natural, but then somebody else sees them and they're like, look at this mug, you know, putting all on these extras and stuff like that. You know, at the end of the day, you know, you do what you grew up and when you're around. But when you're doing something that you didn't grow up and be around, that you literally just basically you're putting on a costume and you put on this costume every time there's a camera on you, that's when you get into, you know.
I mean, the way I'm looking at it is that no one laughed harder than black people, you know, with Erica Kirk. You know what I'm saying? You know, that whole situation, you know what I mean? When Drewski dressed up as her, you know what I mean? No one laughed harder than us, you know what I mean? In particular. You know, and so now
how far we can when you say Erica Kirk, Drewski said, "I never said it was Erica."
Yeah. But you know, I mean, because he did the right thing legally. You know, what I mean, so he could avoid the situations. You know, so you know, and he was smart by that. You know, But we know who it was, right? You know, so the thing is that since we all laughed, we all laughed, we had a good time, and so now if someone comes and just in fun, not with any type of animosity or bigotry, you know, and then they're poking fun at the situation, I don't see how anyone can get mad at the situation. Just on the outside looking in, since we talking about it now, you know what I mean? I don't see how we can be mad, you know what I mean? But now someone is coming out and then they like really exaggerate someone like remember the white girl on the tennis court where she came out of the tennis court and she exaggerated, you know, her body features, you know, her butt, her breasts and whatnot and everything, and try to mimic Serena. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, so that's offensive. You know what I mean? You know, I get that, but on this situation, you know what I mean? Hey, you know, chalk it up. You know, keep it moving. Either laugh or don't laugh, and you know, it is what it is.
Hey, another thing that Carlos Miller, the comedian Carlos, said, he already in blackface. He got a black man haircut. He walking around with gold chain. He already acting like a black man in blackface.
I think you nailed it. It's really about your intent. You know, I do believe that there's a respectable way about to go things, but you know, a comedian, you know, you got to push the line. But it's really about your intent. So as long as you're not disparaging, again, even if you're disparaging one person, that's one thing. Once you get to disparaging a group, that's when you cross the line. So if you can make, honestly, if it's funny, it's funny. I thought it was hilarious when he did that white dude at the racetrack. I mean, and the white people didn't even like acknowledge it. You know, white people acted like he was just another one of them. You know what I'm saying? That was a hilarious skit. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's what's up. So shout out to Drewski. You know, keep doing your work, brother. So let's do a quick roundup on the college basketball championships. You know, some things played out since the last show. A student X said, I'm late talking about it, but I'm just telling you, man, that UConn Duke game, the ending of that game was crazy. This game was over. I mean, all they had to do was just hold on the ball, just sort of like no seconds left. Just they try to pass it, it gets tipped. Someone just hits a three-pointer. I mean, it's just a heartbreak type situation. I thought that momentum was going to take them all the way through, but the Michigan Wolverines was having none of that for that destiny. So, you know, shout out to the Wolverines that did it on the men's side, and shout out to the Lady Bruins, UCLA ladies. They did it on that side. So that's what's up. So, you know, and they put the smack down on South Carolina. So salute to those sisters. You know, that's what's up.
Ooh.
All right. So yeah, let's go.
Okay.
I'll see what the time is.
All right. I know y'all saw the number today. I fixed it. Y'all saw the number? All right. La Brea Trucking, East Coast, West Coast, West Coast to East Coast, North to South, South to to north. All of your trucking needs, La Brea Trucking. Y'all saw the phone number. Give him a call so he can deliver whatever it is that you need delivered. Salute to La Brea Trucking.
That's gobealive.org. Go get you some of that black honey. And if you want it in person, go to the Petty Vice at Venice or go to the Afro City Marketplace at the Crenshaw Mall. Salute, Sister Nidra.
Score Bar and Lounge, 7123 Franklin Boulevard, Sacramento, California. Go check them out. You get some good food, good drinks, some good music. Watch the game. They got 9 big screen TVs, a pool table, all good.
Focus Up Network. Salute. Membership. Salute. Appreciate you.
You need to tap in. You need to focus up.
Focus up. All right, back to our regular schedule programming.
All right, let's talk about Artemis 2. So a few things happened since we last spoke about it. You know, they actually did circle the moon and then make their way back safely and plop down in California. Now, you know, I got into it a little bit of a debate online. Shout out to my brother Yusef. You know, we don't always see it eye to eye, but I be trying to explain to these people how this stuff works. Because I had a real sort of like flat earth moment where I said, wait a second. The earth is moving 66,000 miles per hour. But this ship, you know, as I'm seeing it coasting and stuff like this thing is only going whatever speed, 1,000, 1,500, 1,500 miles per hour, you know, is on its way to the moon and then coming back. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, how the heck is it going to catch up with something that's 66,000 miles an hour? It seems like you drift off and now you lost. You know, you have to wait for billions and billions of years for the whole, solar system to come back around for you. But as I was searching and researching what they're doing, what's actually happening is it's sort of like you being on a train. If a train is going 60 miles an hour and you do a running jump on that train and jump off, you're going 60 miles an hour plus whatever propulsion that you do. So what happens is, you know, of course, when they launch escape velocity, it's something like, I don't know, 30,000, something like that. You know, it takes a lot of speed to escape, you know, Earth velocity. So they do that. That's basically on top of the 66,000. So basically what they're doing is that this rocket is shooting in front of the Earth towards the moon. And basically the moon is going way faster than this rocket. So they're just trying to aim for a place where the moon will be. And then they basically use the moon's gravity to shot put themselves to where the Earth is going to be. So for all intents and purposes, you're basically launching in front of the Earth, and then the Earth is ultimately catching up with you. So, you know, that's the beauty of it. So when you look at Hidden Figures and stuff like that, all that, all the stuff that you're trying to figure out, these calculations, this is basically, you know, working all this routing and stuff like that. So, you know, that's the stuff. You over there dying?
Oh, you finished? My bad.
You're over there dying. You're over there dying on space. You understand how important this is? Because this world, you know, we may have to go somewhere else. So we're going to have to figure out some things.
Nice guy. The only science I can listen to is Neil deGrasse Tyson and the other guy, the small little blue dot guy. Those are only two I can listen to it with glee and attention. Anybody else start talking science? Oh, damn! Even just saying the word, my bad.
You gotta do better. You gotta do better. But the bottom line is they ended up like the most as much as there was danger that whole time, because you're talking about radiation, you're talking about all these things flying through. I mean, literally, there's things that just flying through space that could just hit the shuttle and that's it. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, hit the spacecraft. I mean, while they were going around the moon, the moon was getting lit up by basically getting hit by like meteors and stuff like that. So, there's all this danger. And then like the biggest danger that they were all worried about most is just basically re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. Because, that's a big problem.
Hey.
But the bottom line is they nailed it. They're safe.
I watched the whole thing, the whole splashdown and everything. It was amazing to me. I love it. I love to see the helicopter come pick him up and take him to the boat. I watched the whole thing. I love it, man. I used to work at NASA back in the day, but Kennedy Space Center. But I love watching that shit, and I appreciate when they was like, it's 4 souls on that little dot that's flying through the sky at like 5,000 miles an hour. That shit was amazing to me. That those men and women are brave enough to brave through all of that 10-day tour and come to that big splash down. And they said they had to roll them off in wheelchairs because they walking legs. That stuff is amazing to me. I salute and respect and appreciate all of them to the bounds of the science of going to that distance. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And before you go to the next, before you comment, also brother Yusef was complaining about, it's like, I know they ain't using their iPhones in space. And I'm like, that they probably have Wi-Fi. Your phones can work off of Wi-Fi, whatever connection that they're sending signals to Earth and back. And then he pulled up one of the like Nixon on the phone talking to the people in space. He goes, well, how are they talking to this on a phone line? I was like, you do know they probably just held up the other phone line to, whatever was being broadcast. So I'm just saying that everything doesn't have to be a conspiracy. But what you got to say about this, brother Student X?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've always been intrigued with space travel. I wanted to be an astronaut, hence me headed to the Air Force Academy. You all know the story. I got politically aware, and I was like, man, no way in hell I'm serving these fools. You know what I mean? And so, a great mission. I appreciate, people like you, Mr. Nice, breaking it down, and sharing your glee and your joy for it. And then, I can't wait to see what's next with the space program.
That's what's up.
I hope it's not nuclear warheads.
For real. I mean, that is part of the stuff that they study. I mean, those rockets. I mean, it's a lot of it's the same stuff. You know what I'm saying? So the same technology. But let's do some straight talk. Let's talk about it.
Before we go, I gotta play the. It's along the line. It's along the line. Where is it at?
We should probably check in on Trump's dumbass and talk about the war that we're currently engaged in.
There we go. Let's talk about Trump. Talk about the war that we currently engaged in.
Speaking of Sister Candace. So the question is, did Trump scare Iran into ceasefire? I got to tell you, on first glance, I'm thinking like he kind of has a win just because he put a deadline. Like he tried to get a ceasefire, and they were like, no. Then he puts a deadline and makes this crazy threat. I mean, absolutely unhinged, unrighteous threat, about what he's going to do to them. If they don't basically concede, and guess what? You end up with a 2-week ceasefire out of it. I mean, it almost sounds like his crazy work. So I don't know. But
first of all, let's stop right there. I mean, there was no ceasefire. There were still rockets being fired, still shoot them up, bang, bang. And we still don't have an update as to, any type of an update of what's going on. And the thing is that, as you all been hearing, you have not been hearing and seeing Iran on social media talking anything about a ceasefire, requesting one. The only person you've been hearing talk about ceasefire is Trump. And then every time you see him, he's agitated and mad. These are not the signs and signals of someone who's in control, running the show, confident about how things are going. So again, like I stated before, Iran is in the driver's seat. There is not going to be a ceasefire based on the terms that at least publicly the American Epstein administration was promoting. That Iran is not going to abandon Lebanon and allow for them to be hit like they're being hit, from Israel. And then they're also not going to abandon their nuclear program. And, the only thing that is up for grabs, which has always been up for grabs, is the 60% uranium. That's why they announced it, said they had it, because now we're supposed to talk about it, and because then that means we know we could go the next step. We've already achieved the knowledge. Once you get rich to 60, then you already achieved, being able to enrich it to 90. When you have a highly developed missile program, as Iran does, then you have the delivery mechanisms. So the rest is history, So that was supposed to be, hey, let's talk. Let's make sure that you guys don't do everything that we're outlining now back then. You know what I'm saying? So now we're just back here where we're at with destruction, chaos, and everything else. And so you're saying this could be seen as a win for Trump. Trump, when this is all said and done, is going to walk away with now the Strait of Hormuz under Iranian control and collecting tolls, which was not the case before. All the American military assets and bases, inside the Gulf region are totally destroyed, and no longer usable. That wasn't the case, until, the actions from the Trump administration, began. So, I mean, I could go on all day. There's lots of losses that this administration is taking. So let's see what happens.
Afro Agnostics, welcome to the show, brother.
Are you there, brother?
I guess he was there for a second. Yeah, we'll bring him back when he comes back on. But yeah.
We got a poll up. We got a poll up to ask you. Let me show it. Who is winning this war? We just doing a poll of our viewers. You can click on, pick who do you think is winning, and we'll share it at the end of the show. But Brother Afro, you there?
So student X. So you're telling me that the fact that they went from 3.5% to 60%, that's not a win for America?
You said they went from 3.5 to 60.
Yeah, talk about the enrichment. Because I'm saying when they had the Iran plan, that Obama negotiated, that it was capped off at 3.5 with inspections. But after they ripped that up, it basically ended up at 60. So I'm saying that wasn't Trump doing big things as far as ripping up that plan and putting something better in place.
Oh yeah, you were being sarcastic.
Let's get. We don't know how much time we got, Brother Afro. Let's let them get. What you want to speak on, Brother Afro?
Nothing in particular. I'm just here trying to follow the conversation.
Okay. Good to see you, brother.
Right now, we talking about the ceasefire. So go ahead, student. Next to speak on this.
Wait. I got a question for you, Apple Agnostic. So the question is, did Trump scare Iran into a ceasefire?
I don't know, man. It's kind of hard for me to say. I've heard different versions. I've heard Trump was being punked. I mean, he did put out some deadlines. He didn't follow through. He keeps extending the deadlines. So, it's kind of like that bully when they put something on his shoulder, knock it off, and you knock it off. Do it again. So I don't know. Everyone knows that the United States is the greater military power. But that doesn't always mean you have the military strategic advantage in every situation. And do you want to commit to that type of situation to do that? So I'm not sure. On this particular one, I just wanted to listen to what folks had to say.
Yeah, but that was the question. That was the issue to me. Now I will say that China did nudge Iran to the ceasefire, but again. They had a 10-point plan proposal, and when Trump was acting like, oh yeah, I did this, and then he goes, and they gave me a 10-point plan proposal. And we're like, hey, this is a good starting point to talk. And I'm like, wait a second, I thought you punked them, but you accepted their 10. They're sitting there bragging about it. They took our 10-point proposal. Now they're saying like, oh no, it was a different 10-point proposal.
Yeah, I think
that's that one in the trash.
Yeah, when you have an idiot, and then you have that. A lot of people were praising him for that alpha energy, like a lot of people who were not necessarily MAGA, they were applauding and praising Trump, giving him accolades because he exuded some alpha male energy. But you see where that type of stuff, where it can lead you into, in places where you can't back down, where you look like a punk that you claim that you're not. So all those people that were giving him praise, now this is what you have.
Exactly. Is that still next? I mean, because you talked about I don't think we have Mr. Floyd X right now, because I would definitely go to him. But we with the backlash of this, because he basically just not only was he threatening them and cursing at them, he started going after the MAGA people. He started going after Candace, started going after Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and the dude from I forgot what was that network? I forgot, but the fourth guy he was going. I mean, he just basically went off of people that were big, sort of like promoters of him, and he just called them all out. And of course, they pushed back. So I know that Student X, what you got to say about that one?
Well, if we're gonna do that while someone is bringing up the actual post, I think that would be a good. And then the epic clapback by Candace. Then we definitely talk about that. But while that's happening, the one thing I would add is that, look, man, the thing is that, after that failed mission, last week that the Trump administration tried to spin like it was just solely a pilot rescue mission after, one of their planes, luckily by Iran, got shot down. What it really was something, greater. It was some sort of a raid that they reportedly were trying to get actually the enriched uranium, and in this mission it went all bad, and tremendous amounts of aircraft were lost, as well as there's still a pilot missing. People are trying to act like there's not someone missing, but there's still some some MIAs. I think when we start seeing the real death count come out, we're going to see it's more than what Trump has been saying. But then we got to talk about the geopolitical consequences. Italy, and Spain are headed to Tehran, to cut deals. The Pope rebuked Hegseth and Trump, for the sacrilegious rhetoric over the Easter weekend, that Tucker talked about, and others. Italy is being forced to choose between choose Vatican over MAGA, with Trump, So it's like, man, there's so much going on. But were we able to get that? Do we have that?
I don't have that. I don't have the actual post. You're talking about with the Trump's rant. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. No, I don't have that. I don't have that.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it's real critical because, like you said, he called out, some of the top supporters of his, people who help him actually get elected, and then now,
the summarization of it, the paraphrasing of it, he basically called them low IQ. He said, he just basically, they all of them were in TV, but they ran to something else. So, so now
he called them low IQs, called them stupid, nut job, troublemakers, seeking cheap publicity. He called out Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, Alex Jones, who claimed they have fought him for years and that they supposedly support Iran, the number one state sponsor of terror, according to Trump, with having nuclear weapons. He claimed MAGA agreed with him on 100%. And he had 100% CNN approval rating. It's just, he said attacks on Tucker, said he couldn't even finish college and is a broken man. Candace is crazy, questioning Macron's gender, and hopes Macron wins a lawsuit.
I agree with him on that one.
Alex Jones is bankrupt for and all that type of deal. He was
I agree with him on that one too. I agree with him on that one too.
That Bridget Macron is more attractive than Candace Owens.
I disagree with that.
Like he was on one. Really bizarre, the whole 9 yards. But like I said, Candace came back, right from the gate, and then said that whenever elites perceive a threat, right? Whenever they perceive a threat, and the slave begins to command the crowd, then every single time, without fail, this is when, you watch those old movies that they'll have, that gladiator surrounded, and escorted out and killed, or, the whole 9 yards, So, look, the elites don't want to lose power. And if you guys can't recognize yet that Candace Owens, Tucker, and the people who were in his camp is a greater threat to destroying a greater threat to destroying his power than any of you that are Trump deranged, that I don't know what to tell you. This is what is needed. Trump coming into this presidency, was what I wanted personally, because I knew that it was going to upset the system, and then there would be an implosion, because that's what's needed to take this thing down. It's not going to be any external force that comes and takes us down. It's going to have to implode. and Trump was directly the right man for the job, and he's showing us that.
Well, and that's part of my problem I have with a lot of these ex-MAGA people, is that they look at this as some deviation. He's kind of, in a sense, doing to his own base or people that were previously his supporters what he has always been doing to the people that he perceived as his enemies, the Democrats. He's just turning it on them now, and now they're feeling the wrath, and now they're responding in a similar way that others have responded who were feeling the wrath of, or feeling who experienced his ire. It's like a sound or something. His ire and stuff like that. I think is and ex-MAGA largely disagree with Trump, but they still are MAGA and they share those values, and that's part of the problem. And their analysis, I believe, is just skewed, towards on the right side of things, like the things that they're and even their analysis that Trump is somehow losing it. He's having some type of cognitive decline. He's not. This is the same Trump. You're just seeing it, and it's now undeniable. But this is just Trump. I think that's part of the analysis that the ex-right, they're still right-wing, but the ex-MAGA lack in their analysis.
So we want to distinguish it. Why do we put up mega please? I'm gonna let student X. What's that? What's mega please mean? First, what's mega mean?
Make Israel great again, and that is where between the base and Trump. So while Afro is attacking the former base of Trump, I'm saying that former base of Trump was exactly what was needed to actually begin a correction, because these people, they're not all right. Maybe let's say a third of them is on that old school bullshit of America first in terms of how you framed it, did a good job, in terms of breaking what it was then, but it's just like today. When you have a lot of people out here saying nigga, which I don't, like to say at all, a lot of those who are saying it today, it don't mean the same as what it would have meant yesterday if some of those same people were saying it. And so when people are saying make America great today, right now, one of the first tenets again that we don't want to be involved in these baseless wars and getting in other people's business, costing us money, sacrificing our lives. We don't want to be doing that. And so when you talk about imperialism, that is a great strike to imperialism if you have the masses of the American people not wanting to do that anymore. So how can those, who want that, be mad at this turn in events? This,
I'm gonna tell you why though. I understand what you're saying, student X, but I don't want to consume all the time. But an ounce of prevention beats a pound of cure. He should have never been supported, never been able to get into power. You don't create a problem and then turn around and say the people who created it now have the solution. And Iran could be blown off the map today. The United States is still an imperial power pre-Iran war and post-Iran war. So this has nothing to do with U.S. imperialism, Iran in particular. It has everything to do with U.S. imperialism, but U.S. imperialism is larger and preceded this attack on Iran and continues after Iran. This is not even to the level of the Vietnam. We've done this. We've seen this before. We can go on and on the list from now, go backwards to 1783. The United States is continuously in war, continuously engaged in military interventions outside of its jurisdiction from the very beginning. So that's the misperception that I think a lot of ex-MAGA have. They have this superficial, mythological view of United States history and so forth.
And I'm saying, so what if they do? Right? Where are they at right now today? And where they're at right now today is what you and I want, what the world want. We don't want America to be in this imperialist, mindset, especially right now, because she's not even capable of that anymore. What this war has shown and illustrated is that America is no longer a unilateral power, in the world. We're in a multipolar world now. where the power is shared. And then when people come together in unity, then there is great as, and even greater than, America and her allies. You see what I'm saying? These are all positive developments.
I think they're like 10 years behind, though. They need to follow the people who were 10, 15 years ahead of them. Like, if you make a mistake, don't come back and try to be the leader to clean up yours. Follow those who saw what you.
That's not gonna happen instantly. I agree with you, but that's not gonna happen instantly. You know what I mean? Not at all. But guess what's happening? With the reality of how the world is shaping, the whole world soon is not going to even want to deal with the white man. Who does that open up the door for? You see what I'm saying? So we got the problem I see with a lot of our dialogues is that, and this is no offense, but I feel like you guys are playing checkers instead of chess. When you're in a chess mindset, you have to look at not only what the other person is doing in terms of their movement, where they're placing, their piece on the board and which piece it is, but you got to get into the mindset of why they're doing that and why they're making that move and ultimately what their goal is. And you have to counter that, come up with a plan yourself. You see what I'm saying?
You believe that Trump is playing chess?
No, but I believe that that the events in this world is just a chess game, and that if you look at how it's shaping up and moving, it is moving in a direction that benefits black people. If we were to have gone with
who's playing it?
Is Trump moves chess moves?
I'm sorry.
Is Trump moves, are those chess moves or checkers?
They're all making chess moves, but just like in any game, you can make the wrong move and then you open yourself up, to get put in checkmate, or get put in check, which is what's happening right now. Iran, they ain't checkmated, Trump in the US. They put him in check, and that's what this ceasefire is representing. I think personally Iran is making a mistake, by letting up, but I understand why, because they want peace. But then when you get into the mindset of your enemy, when they don't have no righteousness in them at all, you got to deal with them, like you would a snake in a garden. You're going to take the machete and cut the head of the snake, and decapitate it. You're not going to look.
When you saying that Iran is letting up, what are they letting up on? They say they not going to make no move without Lebanon being part of the ceasefire. They're not going to give up. I don't think the Strait of Hormuz, they're not giving that up.
No, they're not doing that. What I mean by letting up is that right now that in terms of the activity, in terms of their missile program, then that is toning down. It is ramping down, right now. Since it looks like Israel, they have Israel in check and line right now for a little bit, so they're ramping down, and what I'm saying is that, I wouldn't do that, until you had a greater framework, which is at the very least Trump bowing down before the world saying, hey, look, we're agreeing to all these situations and whatnot. We want to stop this.
Basically, almost there, right?
Student X, doesn't Israel got nuclear weapons?
Say again?
I said, doesn't Israel got nuclear weapons?
They do got nuclear weapons.
Dude, does it really serve Iran's interest to just keep pumping this? To me, the best interest in everybody is to bring some type of.
So I can tell you right now, if I think that's the only thing missing is for Israel to fire a nuclear weapon on a technically non-nuclear Iran, or right now, because the condemnation and where the world is on Israel right now, as it is, I think that would be enough to send it on the top, because I don't believe that, those that run Israel, deserve to have a country. I think they all should be removed, and eliminated. Myself, and I know I'm not alone. And so right now, I think that's right now the whole chess game, if you will, is to set Israel up, for destruction. Because they're a cancer to this world and they need to be removed.
Yeah, see, this is the problem I have with talk like that, because again, you can have your issues about the ideology of the people that run, because a government is not the people.
I got my problem with Israel's existence.
Even still, but
now their actions.
You're talking about the political existence. You're talking about political existence, and then you're talking about government actions, military actions. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody's necessarily involved in those things. some people are along from the ride. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm not saying they are.
And before Israel became Israel, there were Israel people living there in Palestine. You know what I'm saying? There was some degree of living.
There was Jewish people that were living there. You know what I mean?
Well,
you know,
so again, I'm saying
there was relative peace too.
So again, so that's my point. So really, the issue is the machination of what it is and the evil people that are doing what it is. But I'm just saying that to me, that still got to be distinguished about the people that are basically third parties. You know what I'm saying?
I always go to the whatever was in the mind of whoever created an object, you know, or a strategy, you know, or a tool, you know, what was in their mind, you know, because sure, I could get a cheer and beat somebody across the head with it, and, you know, and kill them, you know what I mean? But that was not the original intent of the cheers, to sit down. You know what I mean? When you look at Israel and why it's created, it was never created for anything righteous at all. You know, this machination of political Israel.
I feel the same way about America. I feel the same way about America. I feel very funny about people in America making these disparaging comments about Israel that apply to America like 1,000 times over.
If the shoe fit, right? If the shoe fit, you know, and right now, again, looking at America's actions and what she is doing, she too is a line for biblical destruction. If you're looking at from, you know, biblical prophecy, you know what I mean? I mean, my God. You know see, this government has been supporting, you know, unrighteousness and wickedness for as long as I've been alive and before. You know what I mean? So the thing is that, you know, like the only thing, I don't believe that there's no saving this. You know, that's where you guys got to keep coming from. I don't believe there's no saving from this. So that's why you guys always see me more of in the same mode that you see Yusuf in, which is prepare, you know what I mean? And then, you know, and look at getting out the way, you know what I mean? Because I'm not looking to participate in the civil war that is en route. You know what I mean? I'm not looking at, you know, as much as I got some people I don't like, I don't want to participate. I just want to move out the way and let people do what they got to do. You know what I mean? And then if it goes greater than that into something geopolitically, you know, with exchange of nuclear weapons, I want to be out the way too.
Well, before I pass this off to Afro-agnostics and then to Mr. Floyd X, because, you know, they haven't been speaking, or Mr. Floyd X really hasn't been speaking. But I will say this, you know, we talk about checkers versus chess. And I think, you know, when you get into religion, and often when you get into conspiracy talk, I mean, to me, it's a whole nother game altogether. It's a narrative-based thing. And you're saying that this has to happen in order for this to happen. And I'm just saying that, you know, this country is an extremely big thing. The notion for this to just completely tear down as opposed to address and fix and adjust and improve and stuff like this is much more practical, much more realistic. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, you know, Israel's still going to be there. Iran's still going to be there. America's still going to be there. The question, I don't want to believe. I'm just saying that
you do, bro.
How you
want to be a fireman?
Go away. How are you going to?
You want to be a fireman?
You guys talk about chess versus checkers. Conspiracy people play tiddlywinks. It's not easy. It's a completely different game. It's basically, you know, we have a narrative. It's supposed to be the prophets, the this, that, and the other, and you know, it has to fit into this thing that we just perceive, but it's basically when you break it down, you fact check it, you know, it comes back to the Y2K, all of that stuff, you know, the pale white horse. We had all these things talking about the new world order, all these stuff. It's 2026. None of that stuff came to pass. And I'm just telling you, a lot of this stuff is that these countries are still going to be here. How they're going to be here, that's what we're going to find out. So again, I'm not trying to save anything. I'm just saying that these things are just too big to just disappear like that. They're going to have to evolve and change. That's what it's not going to be a complete tear down and build up. It's not going to work like that.
I want to make it plain though. I'm not saying what you're saying. I'm not saying that it's going to disappear. I'm saying that it is going to be anarchy and lawlessness because, you know, the government, you know, is not going to exist like how we know it to be now. You know, so I mean, already they're preparing.
You said it's going to diminish. It's going to be smaller.
Yeah, but I'm saying that it's like if you have the interruption of services to where, like right now, we depend on, you know, there to be water in our homes to be running. You know what I mean? You know, the grocery stores be having food on the shelves. You know, we're dependent on a lot of those things. So right now, that strait is not open. And it's going to be closed. Like, let's say in the next, if it says closed for another 2-3 weeks, when I say closed to America itself, you know, close for another 2-3 weeks, in particular, bro, we're gonna really feel where things are gonna be at. You see what I'm saying? And so what I'm saying is it doesn't take
in
much.
America.
Yes, we in America in the next 3 weeks.
The
If
world, really, the
don't get to
world.
this conflict at that time,
The world.
we're gonna see
After
gas
I
and
got
a
it,
much.
We got another prediction. We got another
Right.
prediction to put on the chart.
Right now, aren't there countries right now that are having
3 weeks.
blackouts because they don't have enough power already because they rely on the Strait of Hormuz? So it's countries that's feeling it right now. It just hasn't come to them.
They are, not
Yeah.
us.
I'm talking about countries that's not even a part of the conflict. Not no Middle East. I'm just talking about countries in general.
Like I said, for us in America, it doesn't take for us to get to where these other countries are in terms of civil unrest and everything else. It doesn't take for us to have government could be completely broke down and there'd be no gas and no power. Bro, let gas get to $10 motherfucking a gallon. You know what I'm saying? Just like gas get to $10 a gallon. You know what I mean? And then you're gonna see a level of
people
panic.
Pay it. And then
right now in California,
there are people who can't pay that.
People in Texas and Indiana are like, man, y'all at $6 already. If we get to $6, I'm not driving no more. And we here driving at $6 an hour. But other cities and states, it's like I can't do $6.
Yeah. But I'm talking when $10 get to like $10 for us. Is not as extreme. It's more extreme than we've seen, right? You know what I mean? But $10 for us is gonna be, it's less for others. Like brother is saying. You know what I mean?
If it gets to $10, are you gonna stop going to work?
I think it's a lot of I actually agree more with Stu Next on this. I mean, we got to look back, and I don't know quite where this convo is going, but think about the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment when they were passed and how they were passed. They were passed under the gun. The 13 southern Confederate states that seceded were under martial law for like 10 years. And this is how they were able to pass things and get things done and pass laws that actually reshaped and restructured the country. The United States after Reconstruction or during Reconstruction is totally different from the United States before Reconstruction. Antebellum United States is different from postbellum United States. And it's not we keep saying America or giving it female pronouns. That's so old and minus the religious biblical stuff. There is no country called America. There is only United States of America. When you use the term, you're projecting United States hegemony over the Americas. You're projecting the Monroe Doctrine. So, I mean, that's one thing we should do if we're against the U.S. imperialism. But we've already experienced it. The most deaths, the most, death toll or whatever was the highest during the Civil War, more than any other, 600, 700,000 deaths. You know what I'm saying? So we've already done it before and restructured this society. So you had spoke about the Jewish population. The Jewish population in the Palestine was only 5-7% before 1940. Before the late 1920s or 1930s. Those Jewish settlements that were facilitated by the British Empire that later coalesced and became Israel. That population steadily rose. And yes, that it would have to be reconstruction. Israel would have to be torn down and reconstituted, not as an ethnic state, but as a multi-ethnic state with a whole different structure than it has now. Just like the United States went through that.
I agree. I've been talking about a two-state solution as far as Israel, but I'm just talking about even if that happens, you're still going to have the Israel faction, then you're going to have the Palestinian faction. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, again, Netanyahu ain't going to be whatever he is forever. You know what I'm saying? That regime will flip with whatever. It's just like the Trump thing. Right now, Trump's doing what he's doing. He ain't going to be doing that for very long. You know what I'm saying? In fact, the power the stranglehold that they have on stuff is probably not going to be lasting very long, just with the midterms. So there's going to be a change here. I'm just saying it doesn't necessarily be lawlessness for it to have a big change. I mean, the whole like the FDR thing. You talking about the big new deal and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Now you talk about the great circumstances, the depression, and all this other stuff. These are the things that inspire that type of stuff. I mean, look, all these issues are basically going to be, a nudging towards something better. Hopefully, something better. There's going to be something different, no matter what. But at the end of the day, that's what you want.
Right. It's not going to come from the right or the conservatives. I just want to emphasize that point. It's not coming from them. All those changes, and the thing in the settler states like Australia, like New Zealand, like South Africa, like Israel, like United States, like Canada, there is no strong left. And that's part of the problem. There are no strong progressives. It's mostly centered, today's liberals are yesterday's the right wing. You know how that today's Democrats are the Republicans of yesteryear. So that's part of the problem. That's why we shouldn't follow the lead or the analysis or the conclusion of anything that Candace or Tucker or any of those ex-MAGA clowns have to say. They're get to the back of the bus. You're not leading anything. You need to follow the left.
The ex-MAGA killer. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. Let's talk about LeBron. Let's talk about LeBron. Keep Memphis out your effing mouth. Those are the words of Nice Guy. He's from Memphis. So what you got to say about that, Nice Guy? What's the story?
Yeah, so basically someone caught him on video, talking trash about Memphis, stuff like that. And I get it, they're rich. So they're talking about, hey, our little, thing that we go to, the stuff that we deal with, it's not as fancy as in these other places. You just need to move this all to Nashville and stuff like that. Just uproot all the infrastructure, all the money, all the business, all the jobs and stuff from Memphis to take it to Nashville and stuff like that. I'm saying the things that these celebrities say, just because of some type of inconvenience to them, as far as impacting these cities, I'm just saying it's absolute recklessness. To me, again, I'm sure there are terrible places in Memphis. The point that I was making with Student X earlier, I'm like, look, if you go to the jungles, you're going to see a different situation than if you go to Beverly Hills. I mean, that's how it's going to be. So I understand in Memphis, there's going to be some places that are crazy. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? People are living off of this. It's sort of like when LeBron with the Cleveland Cavaliers, when he left the Cavs and, and went to Miami, a lot of people lost jobs and money and all of this stuff like that. And I'm not saying that was his responsibility. I'm just saying that it's no little thing. So I'm just saying, keep Memphis out your mother effing mouth.
Let's see what he said. He spoke. He said, "Staying at the effing Hyatt at 41 years old. You think I want to do that shit? Being in Memphis on a random ass Thursday." Go over to Nashville. They got everything. And then the other one was 41 years old, two cities I do not like playing in right now. That's Milwaukee and that's Memphis. I don't like going home either. Shit. I'm from there. So he fool certain cities he don't fool with because I know other basketball players spoke on it, how they all complain about Memphis. They said that some basketball players get robbed in Memphis. Just going to the restaurant or something. So
across the street.
Memphis is across the street. So Memphis is not an ideal place for people with money or celebrity status want to go. They say go to Nashville is better. I've been to both cities. I like both cities, and I do see the difference. But hey, to each his own.
I bet you like Nashville better.
Hey, Afro, what was it? You remember you had that chart? What was the essence of that you were talking about there?
Oh yeah, so I mean, Memphis brings up it's black. That's part of the innuendo implied in his statement. Just like when you bring up Detroit, when you bring up Harlem, it implies black population. So black Memphis is the way it is due to segregation. The chart that I showed you, it shows I think 50, 60 years of divestment from Memphis by the state of Tennessee. Divestment in the city itself and divestment on the federal level. Memphis was the shit before the middle of the 20th century. It was the premier city in Tennessee, not Nashville. Nashville wasn't what it is now. They put money and investments into Nashville, and you can show on the chart that there's inverse relationship between the investments in the Nashville and the divestment from Memphis. So if you're having this discussion with billionaires, which I feel you on the black to black tip without the camera on, you can talk that shit. It's blah, blah, blah. But don't trash Memphis, calling it trash, and then talk about taking that organization, those resources out of Memphis and relocating them in Nashville, you with billionaires. Quit acting bougie. You can talk about organizing investments into Memphis rather than taking more out of Memphis, considering so much has been taken out of Memphis. That was my issue.
So you said him doing that is contributing to the divestment of Memphis and making it worse.
In other words, yeah.
Okay.
Especially if the NBA were to leave Memphis. I mean, again, there's a lot of jobs. There's a whole economy, but I know that there's people that don't care about sports, and then they see like on their tax thing, they're like, they got to vote. Why do I put money towards this stadium and stuff like that? But there's tons of financial benefits to these teams in your city. All these people that get employed, all these business that is created. I was just at the Laker game last night. You know what I'm saying? So it's a big deal. It's a big industry. There's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of just on the simplest level, there's people outside the stadium selling hot dogs, just people, you know what I'm saying? So the bottom line is there's so much economic outpouring and from these events that you just don't want to take these away from the people.
Hey, Angel Reese just got traded from the Chicago to Atlanta, and the ticket prices in Atlanta went from the cheap seats from $30 to $60. That's going to be a raise for some people. If the prices consist, they're going to be able to give those vendors and things raises. So I'm understanding what y'all saying to that sense. It's going to grow. You bring more sports to the team, sports to the city, it grows it. Like LA got 2 teams, 2 basketball teams, 2 baseball teams, 2 football teams. It's a big ass city. That's a lot of money being generated.
LA, Anaheim ain't really LA, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, Southern Cali. They stole the charges from San Diego. Like, man.
Jack Mouf food. But anyway, so
can I add something to this, y'all?
Sure.
Yeah, so the thing is about Memphis is that, I always like to take it, a lot of times people put too much on it, and from LeBron's standpoint, he's saying it as an elite, a rich dude, that has to go to that city, probably like 2 times a year, you know what I mean? And I get it. It definitely isn't, developed, like Nashville, at all, but the thing is that, yes, there's been all sorts of challenges, for sure, without doubt. And I'm not going to, discount any of what Afro, said. But again, I'm one who's going to look at, okay, well, what can we do? And the thing is that I think people should really, the people of Memphis, first it seems to start with the politics, you know what I mean? And right now, the politics is not focused on the right things. I mean, when you look at the geography in Memphis, the reason why, like pre-Columbus, cultures thrived there was because of its safety. It was high, it stood above the river access, so it was not prone to flooding. So for trade, fishing, travel, it was a natural port and outlet. The bottomlands for farming and abundant wildlife, was present there, and so, it's like lots of wonderful, attributes of that area, but man, the people are going to have to just, really come up with a strategy and a plan to seize, what they have there, the history. I mean, people don't know about like the largest pyramid in all North America was right there, in Memphis. And keep in mind that the white man named it after Egypt. You know what I mean? Memphis in Egypt, you know what I mean? So, Memphis is deep. Now, I want to say that, but in terms of, again, to make it, basic, like what all LeBron was talking about, is, hey, man, it's just no fun here.
The NBA is making all that money off of Memphis. All they need to do is build a superstructure over there. They can do what's happening with the SoFi and Inglewood and all this other stuff. You're just basically you can fix up that area. But the bottom line is you're making so much money off of this. You're pulling off these resources. If the Stars, if you're complaining about their 2 days out of the year, you know what I'm saying, then pamper them a little. You know what I'm saying? That I'm just saying, don't make the community suffer just to make your 2 days a little bit better.
Yeah. I just saw you was at the Laker game last night, man.
That's what's up. Hey, man, Hey, man, the Lakers put the stomp down on there. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, LeBron, they're taking it seriously. They lost Luka. They lost, Austin. You know what I'm saying? And it's like they had a stranglehold on the 3 spot, and then once they lost those, it seemed like it was going to be over. They were probably going to drop down to the 5. But they sacked up these last 2 games, and actually now they're already locked into the 4th, at least the 4th, because Houston lost last night. So now it's going to come down to Denver. If they beat San Antonio for their last game, then they'll be the 3. If not, if the Lakers beat Utah and San Antonio beats Denver, then the Lakers get back to the 3. So we'll see.
The crowd cheering on Bronny. Was you like, go Bronny, go?
Yeah, it's because one of the attorneys that was talking all this, always crapping on Bronny. So when Bronny hit the 3 run, I was like, Bronny. So yeah, because he's a Clipper fan too. He's always talking ish about the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so as soon as like Bronny turns the ball over, he's like looks up at me like yeah, whatever. So but no, it was great. So it was we had the suite. Hey, my bosses did it big. They got tickets for everybody. We were in the suite. Dinner at Mastro's. The whole thing was nice. Except I didn't get to do that because we had a filing that extended too long, so I didn't even make it to the dinner, and I missed the first half of the Lakers game. But at the end of the day, I did. I get the game was fun. The part that I got to see, and that's what's up. So I appreciate it all. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't crapping on my bosses, but they take care of it. Let's talk about autism. The reason why we're bringing this up because this is Autism Month. First Lady Jade, she's always on top of us about recognizing all these months that come up and stuff like that. And she posed this question, do you know the difference between autism and autistic? And I didn't know what she meant by it because the first thing I'm thinking like the noun versus the adjective or something like that. But it's really a little bit more different than that because they have their thing that they call autism, and then they have something called the autistic spectrum disorder. So that's the ASD. And autism is like basically a branch of the bigger umbrella that is the autistic spectrum disorder, and that actually includes stuff like Asperger's syndrome and pervasive developmental order and stuff like that. So it goes into to more degrees. So but the bottom line is let me see. They both have 3 main character or 3 diagnostic criteria: persistent deficits in social communication and interaction, restrictive and repetitive behaviors, and sensory sensitivities. But it's really like these extremes that go into it. So there's like 3 levels of the autistic, autistic spectrum. And level 1 requiring support. It says individuals at this level require some support to navigate social situations in daily life. They may experience difficulties with initiating and maintaining social interactions, as well as coping with changes in routines or environments. Then you got level 2 requiring substantial support. Individuals at this level require more substantial support in various areas of functioning. They may exhibit more pronounced challenges in social communication and adaptive behaviors. Assistance may be needed to navigate social interactions and manage daily tasks and cope with changes. Then you have level 3 requiring very substantial support. These are individuals at this level that have significant challenges and require very substantial support. They may have severe impairments in social communication, limited interest, and repetitive behaviors. Assistance may be needed in almost all aspects of daily life, including self-care, communication, and managing transitions. And the reality is this stuff has been existing long before Tylenol, long before food colors. We may have human behavior and we don't get to a point where we categorize it and see what it is, till we get to that point. But the bottom line is now that we have an understanding what it is, it gives us an opportunity to address it and deal with it. So that's the situation.
Yeah. I was when I was looking at this subject, I was like, man, well, how can how can we make it to where we can relate a little bit more, to it in terms of understanding. And so I wanted to look at it from, especially since you guys are out there in LA, from like a Hollywood perspective, like from a movie perspective, And so, I was, just looking at the chart when I was bringing it up, and they were saying like how Rain Man, right, Dustin Hoffman as the autistic savant, in that movie, how they said that they rated that one as more stereotypical, And then like in terms of problematic or controversial portrayals, I guess like the accountant, like Ben Affleck, as a highly functional artistic assassin, they don't like that at all. You know what I mean? You know, that was something that people really didn't appreciate. And then in terms of better, more nuanced or positive portrayals, like there was that movie that I think that we could relate to. I think most would maybe that The Brilliant Young Mind, maybe.
You're talking about A Beautiful Mind.
The young man genius, you know, that was on there. That was
preparing for a beautiful mind. Oh yeah, and then like Pie and stuff like that.
Yeah. I was mad because when I was doing that, I was like, oh man, I was looking to see where my folks was, you know, from Something to Do About Mary. You know what I mean? Franks and Beans do. You know what I mean? You know, so I don't know where they would put that, you know what I mean, in terms of, now we're doing comedy too, you know what I mean? So was that okay, not okay, you know, type of deal, you know? But look, you know, the thing is that, you know, I appreciate, you know, our sister, you know, bringing us, you know, making us aware of this, because I was like, autism, you know what I mean? And then, you know, it made me have to go look, you know, and get a better understanding, you know. So thank you, sister, and we miss you. You know, I can't wait for you to be back on the show, you know, to offer that perspective, you know, that you bring so brilliantly here to the show.
Yeah, Afro-agnostic can only bring us so much female perspective.
Yeah, wow. You said it, brother. That wasn't me, brother.
God damn.
So that might be a good, unless you put it this way, I know the students, there were some things that you wanted to talk to. I'll give you the floor if you want to close on something that you wanted to get out.
Well, I mean, I shouldn't say necessarily get out, but as I was just kind of scrolling or kind of look for updates to see what was going on with these talks, a post came that showed how in Ireland, at the Shannon airport, some dude got arrested because he jumped on top of USAF, a C-130, and just started taking a hatchet and hitting key aspects of it, trying to damage it, you know, to keep it from it's a military transport hub to Iran, you know what I mean, and help, you know, play a little role in shutting down this machine. So, this war is not popular anywhere. I mean, as much as we hate it at home, think about the countries that is being greatly ill impacted by this, you know, situation, you know what I mean? And so when we start to feel more of an economic brunt of this, you know, that's when, you know, people are going to be more conscious, become more angry, more upset. When people see the suffering, you know, in Africa, that's going to be a result of this because of some parts of Africa, you know, in terms of the food programs, you know, when I was growing up, they had it to where, I never forget it. It was like the starvation that was taking place from the famine that was taking place in Ethiopia, and all the babies, you know what I mean, with the, you know, big bellies, you know, from not eating any food, that classic look and whatnot. And I was a child, and we were doing canned food drives, sending food out there the whole 9 yards. You know what I'm saying? My mom was like, man, you know, eat all your food. Don't leave a speck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that. You know what I'm saying? You know, and then the thing is that what people don't even realize yet is there are consequences to what this evil, wicked empire is doing, you know, and then the policy that's helping to drive it, you know, for sure. But we can't just blame it on that, you know, is this, you know, so-called Israel first type of mentality. But when you go back into that Israel first mentality and dig deeper, then you start to find out what it really is. You know what I mean? And that is, you know, what I call a satanic worship. You know what I mean? So, you know, I you know, this, you know, there's got to be some type of end to this. And one thing I will applaud Iran on, if they are slowing down on this situation, you know, then, you know, you know, that is just showing just how much in terms of, you know, how much they believe in humanity. You know what I mean? You know, what they want to see, you know, is the end of suffering and pain. And right now, man, we're like our leaders here, you know, and those that run this government, they're not with it, you know. But like I mentioned earlier, is that what we have to do is so-called, you know, melanated people is show that even though that we suffer great wickedness, you know, from, you know, our former enemies and the slave masters' children, we have to show that we could govern, you know, without that type of animosity, you know what I mean? And then show a whole different way of government with a true transparency, you know, a true, you know, diplomacy, you know, and actually doing right, you know, by, you know, the people in the world. We have no choice because, like I said, America is no longer a unilateral power anymore. You know, it's sharing this power with the rest of the world. And You guys don't like me to bring up Candace, man. Candace was like, man, and nor Charlie. And I bring up Charlie Kirk because, man, like, it's such a significant situation to where this man was assassinated. So whether you like what he was saying or not, he was not, doing something that was harming, you and I, at all,
yeah. What he was saying was harming me. I don't mind you bringing up Candace. I don't mind you bringing up Candace. I don't mind you bringing up Tucker. I know that Floyd X is gonna joke and say "fucker Carlson." To me, bringing it up, these people have powerful voices. They're saying important things. I'm not you're not being limited or restrained from saying it, whatever. But what I'm not gonna do is be romantic about Charlie Kirk. That's what. That's what.
You're romantic about Charlie Kirk. But what I'm trying to say is that
when I was listening to that Candace video, when I died at 3 minutes and 39 seconds in, it was because of Charlie Kirk.
Because you allow yourself to be triggered, and you allow emotion to rise above reason and logic. And the fact is, regardless how you feel about him,
she was taking forever to paint a picture that was simple.
And if it can happen to him, it can happen to any one of us. And so
he was killed by a lone crazy guy.
Let me say this. Look, I want to recommend that everybody go watch John Mearsheimer. He gave a good lecture in some kind of banquet or whatever they went through. He gave a good lecture on the ceasefire and how the United States is complicit in a genocide because the way that we support Israel, and that's why it was so easy for Trump to what's the word I'm looking for, to threat with the genocide as far as Israel, Iran civilization goes. Go check out John Mearsheimer. Go look it up. It's a great speech, a great lecture. It was very insightful the way he spoke on real quick. As far as we lost, U.S. lost more planes in that one day saving that one soldier than they lost since the Vietnam War. That's an amazing analogy and put things in a proper perspective. He said you lost more planes that one day than we lost since all the wars since Vietnam.
Like that.
Just like that.
That's up. Hey, you said it, man. Just the fact that he's talking about, he was okay with saying wipe out. It's not going to have a nation anymore. A human being in power was okay with saying that just over the opening of some strait. And now, mind you, that strait, it's important to other people. I mean, when we talk about the things, it's not just oil. You talk about fertilizer. These things have so many relations to other things. So when you talk about food and famine and stuff like that, it's a big deal. But it was always open to everybody else. It was just not open to the United States and Israel. Now, whether people are comfortable with taking it, that's a whole nother situation. But yes, I'm just saying. So let's be clear about who it was purposely closed to. So that having said, hey, that's right. Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate you. We appreciate the comments. Like we say, any information that you want, anything you want us to talk about, hit us up in the comments, hit us up on the page, hit us up on Facebook. Floyd X, go ahead, send us out. Say what you got to say to them.
Just like